Sundown at the Findlay National Wildlife Refuge south of Corvallis. Time for bullfrogs to begin their nightly chorus. Their deep bass notes dominate the night air, just as the frogs now dominate the refuge waterways. There are fewer croaking tonight, however. Earlier today, OSU biologist Bruce Koblenz removed and killed all the bullfrogs he could catch.
They are eating native species literally out of existence, or at least we presume that because we find evidence that they eat them, and we have no better explanation for why, when bullfrogs move into an area, some of these native species vanish. This one is smaller, but it's sexually mature. You really would like to eliminate at least all the females in a pond of this size or bigger to get rid of all the reproduction.
Bruce is working with managers at the Findlay Refuge on the bullfrog removal project. Several threatened or endangered species, like these red-legged frogs, disappear when bullfrogs take over, according to biologist Martin Drutt.
It's a situation where they're outcompeting the native species. It probably has a strong effect on western pond turtle populations, and also it has an effect on the Oregon chub population. It's possible that spotted frogs, a species that was once endemic to the Willamette Valley, became extinct because of the bullfrogs.
Ooh, there's a big one right there.
Bruce wants to learn whether bullfrog reproduction can be stopped by removing the large adults from a pond, and if so, how quickly they return.
This particular frog is a male, and you can tell it's a male by the yellow underneath the chin and by the very large tympanic membranes, which are about twice the diameter of the eye.
He uses worms on a hook, just like fishing. The trick is to cast near where one is poking its head out of the pond without scaring the frog.
He went for it, but he didn't get it. Is the other one still there?
Bruce takes any bullfrog he can get, but he especially wants females old enough to reproduce.
All right, we got a female now. And she's, of course, not an extremely large frog yet. A large female would be twice this size.
Bullfrogs were introduced to Oregon around 1930, probably by people interested in selling frog legs as a delicacy. Since then, bullfrog numbers have exploded.
Yeah, see, this one's just, again, in the process of developing. All this is eggs, this blackish mass.
And how many eggs will they lay?
Big female would be several tens of thousands anyway, which is why these populations just explode. As soon as a frog moves into a new piece of habitat, population jumps sky high. And that's to the detriment of everything else living in the system. Now, it's got a bunch of stuff in its stomach if you're interested in seeing what's in there. That is a bone, more than likely a frog bone. I've found things from garter snakes to shrew moles to salamander larvae in them.
How much do bullfrogs eat? And is that the reason other species decline when bullfrogs move in? Research to answer those questions is underway at the Richfield Wildlife Refuge in Washington. Bullfrogs of all sizes are taken from refuge ponds. Then, researchers painstakingly analyze what is in the stomach and intestines of each one.
Looks like we have 4 adult damselflies on this one. There's a wing right there.
So far, they've confirmed that bullfrogs are definitely not picky eaters. Refuge manager Joe Engler.
Well, right now we're pretty much finding everything. It's mostly insects, but we're finding our tree frogs, our red-legged frogs. We found salamanders.
We got a fish in this one.
Not only do bullfrogs eat a lot, they're capable of eating animals about half their own size.
This frog was quite intact.
This northern red-legged frog, taken from a bullfrog's stomach, is one of the threatened native species that refuges want to protect. But biologist Mark Hayes says bullfrogs don't deserve all the blame for disappearing species.
One of the problems is you have 2 major confounds. One is habitat change, and 2 is exotic fishes. It is likely that all 3 have contributed. Juvenile tree frog.
Studies like this one confirm that bullfrogs are a significant threat to native species. But can anything be done to tip the scales in favor of those natives? Maybe. Anything that can keep ponds and creeks cool will discourage bullfrogs.
Because bullfrogs are warm water species, they will not breed until the water is up to a certain temperature. And in contrast, most of our native frogs are colder water adapted.
One of the things we can do is we have the ability on parts of the refuge to draw water down.
Bullfrogs spend a year as tadpoles, whereas native species metamorphose to adult frogs the same year they hatch. So drying up ponds has the potential to kill bullfrog tadpoles, but not native frogs.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
None of these scientists believes they'll be able to eliminate bullfrogs. But Bruce has shown that bullfrog numbers can be reduced by removing adults. At this Findlay pond, 2 years of removing bullfrogs appears to have left no frogs old enough to reproduce.
Here you can see there's not a whole lot of frogs, and they're not very big in comparison to where you were earlier today.
Whether reducing bullfrog numbers will allow western pond turtles and red-legged frogs to return to these ponds is not yet known.
It will take some long-term monitoring on our part to see if populations of some of these other species do return.
But Bruce has faith his efforts will eventually pay off, so the original residents of these ponds can make a comeback.
Every frog that is taken out of one of these situations is a frog that is not eating native species, so there's got to be a benefit there.